The coffee table I built this week involves the Big Apple, Clydesdales, and a bit of karate. But hold on, I'll explain. I'm going to build two versions of this coffee table. One using construction lumber from the home center, and the other uses nicer wood, and I'll be able to sell this table for over $1,000. But first, let me back up. When I was recently at Maker Faire, New York, I came across Kit & Co. at their booth and really liked what I saw. I quickly recognized the quality of the hardware kits and how easy and accessible they were to use. So I ordered this coffee table kit, which can be modified based on your own skill level and budget. And I'll start here with the most accessible basic version this requires. For this first coffee table, you just have to cut a few 2x6s in half and then attach all the hardware. All right. Take it away, slow-mo montage. Okay, this first version came out awesome, but it's time to turn it up. I dropped by Vintage Reclaimed Lumber here in Oklahoma City, where I found this reclaimed tongue and groove oak flooring. Now, this wood came from a local ranch where it was actually the hayloft of a very large Clydesdale horse barn. And sometimes reclaimed wood may not look like much on the outside, but under all that grime, this was some of the most beautiful wood I've ever worked with. And prior to planing, I cut down these larger boards to a more manageable size. And for this, the karate chop method is faster, but a miter saw will work just as well here. My original plan was to leave the tongue and groove and use this to join these boards back together, but none of these boards were straight down the length, so I decided to rip off the tongue and groove except for those two outside pieces. The next step was to cut these boards down to about 50 inches, which is closer to the final length of this 4-foot tabletop. Here I'm marking out the alignment holes for the self-centering doweling jig I'm using to join these boards together. These add strength to the joint and keep the boards aligned. And using one of these jigs is pretty straightforward. You just line up the alignment lines on the jigs with the appropriate diameter hole that you want to use, and then use the corresponding drill bit, in this case a 1/2 inch, to drill the holes. The next day, after the glue had fully dried, I used a putty knife to scrape off the dried glue squeeze out. I'm filling on the knot holes in this table with black tinted epoxy, so I used aluminum tape on the bottom where the epoxy might seep through. And for these epoxy fills, I used a 2-part epoxy and mixed in a powdered pigment. And here you see me using a dental syringe to fill the smaller knots and cracks. And then I came back and popped all the bubbles with a heat gun. After the epoxy had cured, I was able to easily remove the excess by using a putty knife and heating it slightly with a heat gun. I had a few small gaps along the seams that I had to address, and I filled these with wood glue and then came back with some of the sawdust that I had saved from cutting down these boards. I clamped on a straight edge and used the circular saw to trim the table down to its final length of 48 inches. Since I didn't need the end strap to join these boards together, I decided to inlay it into the bottom of the table to help keep it flat. I marked out the location, set the depth of the router bit, and routed in the groove for the metal strap. The router left these rounded corners that I quickly cleaned up with a chisel. The tabletop needs sanding up to 220 grit, but with my new autonomous orbital sander, this is actually a breeze. Next, I could come back with a sanding block to clean up the ends, and then I could sand down and break over the sharp edges. I'm a big fan of an easy to apply finish, so I put on 2 coats of simple finish with wax. This makes all the wood grains stand out, and you could see just how beautiful this old oak flooring really was. But if you're going to use this finish, don't forget, wax on, wax off. Attaching all the hardware is fairly simple. I like to pre-drill all my holes before driving in the screws. Just make sure not to drill too far and to use the right size screws. Hey, thanks for watching, and I want to thank this video's sponsor, Kit & Co. Like I said in the beginning, I found Kit & Co at Maker Faire, New York, and I knew right away I wanted to build something with one of their kits. I like that they make these hardware kits to make lasting pieces of furniture, but they don't charge a premium for them. I also like how these kits are designed for you to customize your own furniture projects, much like I did with this piece right here, when I took the end strap and inlaid it underneath to help keep the tabletop flat. With one of these kits, you can easily build a project that matches your own skill level, your own design ideas, and the tools that you have on hand. I have a link in the description to Kit & Co and the basic coffee table kit that I used here for this project. Just use the code JOHNNYBUILDS for free shipping on your order. I also have a link down in the video description that's going to walk you through all the steps required to build both versions of the coffee table I made here in this video. Again, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit thumbs up, and if you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks. Okay, y'all, thanks for watching, and remember, karate is here. Karate is here.
Karate never here.